Hey guys, today I want to share with you our payday routine. I am definitely the money person in our house, and so I am going to share with you what it is that I do every time my husband gets paid because let's be honest, his is the bigger paycheck right now, and so it kind of flows all off of him. That being said, I have a very consistent routine, so I am looking at our money every 2 weeks because he gets paid every other Friday, and I want to take you through what that process looks like, so here we go. One of the most important things that I want everybody to do is to recognize that you're not going to get in your paycheck everything that you actually earned, and that should be by design. There are some things that should be coming out of your paycheck before any money is even put into your account. For our household, that includes several things. First, it's going to be retirement savings. At this point, my husband is setting aside 15%. We came up with that percentage to align with the baby steps. It's something we've been doing ever since we found Dave Ramsey many years ago. Of that 15%, 6% of the 15% is going into his traditional 401k because that's where the company matches. And y'all know I'm all about that free money. The remainder of that is going into his Roth 401k because if there is one mistake that I feel like I had made, it's that we put way too much money into the traditional 401k. I wish we had focused more on the Roth 401k, and I won't dig into that in this video, but if you're interested, leave a comment below and we can explore that in another video down the road. The second thing that comes out is our charitable giving. My husband has always given to something, and whatever he gives to, it has always been where the company that he works for would do some matching. Next, we have benefits coming out. Benefits for us include medical, dental, and vision, and life insurance for my husband. I want to be really clear, when it comes to medical, there's a lot of different options out there. In the end, we landed with the high deductible health plan that permitted us to also have an HSA. For those of you who've been following our journey, you'll know that my husband recently lost his job, but this payday procedure is going to stay in place for a while because he does have some severance coming. Therefore, I want to also highlight that the medical plan that we're in, I'm so glad that we chose it when we did years ago. And the reason for that is because we chose the high deductible health plan that was tied to an HSA. An HSA is a health savings account that does have tax benefits to it. But the wonderful thing about a health savings account is that when my husband leaves his corporate job, that money goes with us. That is our money. So he's been contributing to it for probably about 7 years now. And with that, we are going to walk away with, something like $40,000 in that account, which is really wonderful because once my husband's severance ends, I'm not really sure what our health insurance is going to look like after that, but I'm promising you that there will probably be a video or two about it because that is one of the scariest things that many of us who have decided to go out and start our own businesses has to deal with. Now that I've covered what is the money that comes out of my husband's paycheck before we even receive it, let me go ahead and tell you how we have our account structured. Our accounts are essentially set up where both my husband and I, him from his corporate job and me from my own business, send our paychecks into our personal checking accounts. We each of us have our own checking account that is ours alone. I don't even see his and he doesn't even see mine, but we are beneficiaries for each other on those accounts. We set this up years and years ago because for a long time we were living together but not married. And so because of that, we had our checks getting deposited into these individual accounts, and then he would transfer me money and then I would pay our rent or I would pay our mortgage payment. Once we got married, we shifted that. And we decided that, okay, let's bring it together and let's have a household account. So the way it is structured for us is we still have those independent accounts, and then we hold back $250 each per paycheck. So I get $250 fund money out of my paycheck in my personal checking account, and he gets the same. And then the remainder of our paychecks get deposited into the primary checking account or the household checking account, however you want to call it. I want to make a side note on the fund money accounts. This is kind of our place to have some independence and spend money however we see fit. That being said, everything else, so anything we do for entertainment with the kids, that all becomes a household expense. If we go out to dinner as a family, that is a household expense. Those things will come out of our primary checking or household account. So the fund money is really just fund money for me and to fill up my gas tank. Once the money is transferred into the primary checking account, this is where I pull up the budget and I do a cash flow budget. I have mentioned it in other videos. This is the kind of budgeting that I like best. I love it because it permits me to see what is the amount of money that we have in our checking account at any point. And it also lets me have a projection for the future so that I can more easily see, like, hey, if we want to spend this kind of money in 3 months, how is that going to have an impact on us? I'm going to show you what that looks like. When I am updating my cash flow budget, I am essentially having both my budget up and my online banking up at the same time, and I am capturing all of the transactions out of my primary household account onto that budget sheet. There will be some transactions already out there that I am expecting to come out, that I know will come out, and that I might have to transfer money from sinking funds to cover. But the main thing I want you to understand is that I do not budget or track things that I pay for with my credit card. I do not budget or track things that come out of my fund money account or my husband's fund money account. The only thing that I budget and track for is that primary checking account, and that is where I make sure that we pay ourselves first. How do we pay ourselves first? Well, there's really 2 ways that we do that. The first way is making sure that those retirement accounts are filled before we even get the paycheck. That is an absolute must. The second way that we pay ourselves first is by making sure that once the money is in the primary checking account, I am doing a transfer to my sinking funds account. I look at it like sinking funds is a bill that hasn't come due yet. Previously, we funded an emergency savings account there as well, which was one of their high yield savings options. That is fully funded now. So at this point, we're really just sending $100 a pay period over into our brokerage account. Next, if necessary, I will send money over to the Greenlight account. And that Greenlight account, the purpose of that Greenlight account is ultimately for me to make sure that money is in there to pay my daughter allowance. And then lastly, I will look at what is the remaining balance in our primary checking account and ensure that it has a cushion I am comfortable with. I will tell you that this is a great way for me to always leave extra room in the account, because every now and again you have something that crops up that maybe was unexpected, or maybe you write a check earlier on and it doesn't end up getting cashed right away. I have absolutely had it, because I write so few checks now that I've written a check and then forgot to put it in the register, because I don't keep an actual checkbook register. I only keep my online version of the cash flow budget. What I'm ultimately getting at is we like to keep cushion in that account. I get uncomfortable once our primary checking drops below 2,000. If it goes below 2,000, I might say, hey, let's not eat out for a while, or let's get this balance back where I'm comfortable. If it gets over 4,000, I'll wonder like, maybe it's time to send some of that to the high yield savings, or maybe we send an extra portion over to our brokerage account, or maybe we pay down extra on the line of credit in our business. That is something that I try to keep in mind with my clients. Having that buffer in your account, especially if you're the kind of person who is not going to be a meticulous budgeter, is very important. I do have a budget template that I work with some of my clients, and that approach is also very contingent on maintaining cushion in the account. As a matter of fact, we design it specifically to build cushion, and then we decide, okay, what's your tipping point, where when your cushion gets to a certain point, you now invest that money. And then the last thing that I do is I add up what all we spent on groceries and what all we spent on eating out. My hope is that within a 2-week period, my groceries will be $750 or less, and that our eating out will be $150 or less. Part of the reason the cushion is so important to us is depending on what's going on, that will be significantly adjusted. So if we have house guests, for example, our groceries are going to go up. If we have let our Costco supplies run down a lot, and we have to do a significant Costco run, that's like a $400 trip right there. So then those Costco runs blow my grocery budget. Once I look at what my grocery spending has been, and once I look at what my eating out spending has been, I will decide, hey, is this realistic for us? If my goal is $150 for eating out, usually it's going to be somewhere between $100 and $200. It might be $175 one pay period, and it might be $79 one pay period. We've actually even had a couple pay periods where our eating out was like one run to Freddy's. So that being said, those things will adjust significantly based on where we are in life and how active our travel sports schedule is. At the time of recording this, my son is in the midst of his baseball season. So like right now, we've got a lot of eating out that's happening because we're traveling a lot for his baseball games, and we're eating way more concessions than I care to admit. But ultimately what I'm looking for is, does anything look out of place? Does anything cause concern? Is there anything unexpected? If I see that a category has grown too much, then by all means, I will adjust that category. For example, when I left my corporate job, our grocery budget was $600 per pay period. It was $600 per pay period. Now it's $750. Essentially, I spend about $150 more in a 2-week period than I used to for groceries. That is just strictly inflation, which is something that I have struggled with. Ultimately, this evaluation is where I have to ask myself, do I need to adjust for the future? Do I need to plan on increasing the grocery budget? And if so, do I need to, can we swallow that? Like, can we handle that? Or do I need to decrease the amount that we spend on eating out? There you go, guys. That is what my process is. I have been following this process for about 10 years. It works really well for my husband and I. It keeps us on track. We feel like we're really in great control of our money. And I think if you did something similar, you would feel much the same way. I hope you guys enjoyed this content. Please subscribe, give me a like, and I will see you in the next video.